Hey guys, what's up? It's Dean with Manful Yoga, and today we're going to go through 7 of the best exercises that you can do for hip mobility and hip range of motion. So we're going to start off assuming that you've done some warm-up or you've done weightlifting before this. This is great for a post-workout, so we want to be warm before we start this because a lot of these poses will require a good amount of flexibility, okay? So the first pose that we're going to start off is I call it a haka in Manful Yoga, but you might know it as a plie or a goddess pose. So we're going to start with your toes facing out 45 degrees. If you're more flexible, you can take your feet out as much as 90 degrees, but 45 degrees is a good way to do this without hurting your back. From here, scoop your butt under your torso. So you want to make sure that your core is really engaged, nice and tight, and then bend your knees so your knees are over your ankles. You might want to walk your feet out as you get deeper into this pose. And then from here, scooping, again, your butt under your torso, so keeping your core nice and engaged, your back flat, arms out in front to help you counterbalance, and then lean back. You can use your hands here to kind of crank your knees back to get deeper into your hips, and then sit down lower. So this is really working into my maximum range of motion in my hips while still maintaining strength. So you want to look down and be able to see your ankles, see the insides of your calves. If you can't, bring your feet a little bit closer together or turn your feet forward a little bit more. Sit down a little bit lower. We're only going to hold this for a few more breaths. We're going to hold this a long time because I want your legs to really get to that point of feeling like jello so that we can work into your flexibility after we finish this. 2 more breaths here. See if you can exhale and sit down a little bit deeper. Remember to breathe in and out of your nose. Control your breathing. And then 1 more breath. Sit down even deeper. Press your hips forward, knees back. And then go ahead and stand up. All right, from here we're gonna move into poses on the ground. Starting off with the lizard pose. So, lizard is like a low lunge with your foot outside your hands. So step the right foot up to the edge of the mat, bring your hands inside your foot, crawl your left knee back, untuck the back foot, pull your chest forward and up, and press your hips toward the space between your hands. And we're just gonna breathe here, in and out of the nose. As you inhale, lift up. As you exhale, press your hips forward. So working into hip flexibility here. If you want, you can also extend the toes and then reach out onto the outside of your foot, let your knee come out to the side. That's going to help out with getting inside your hip here. Gotta call my dog back so he doesn't attack this dog. Voltron, come here, come here, come on. And then we're gonna switch sides from here. So left foot outside, Tron, come here. Right knee back, and then knee over the ankle, hips between your knees. Tron, come here. Press your hips forward toward the space between your hands. Sit. Down. Down. Tron. Down. So this is working into the flexibility in the front of your right hip. And you should also feel in your left leg here. Pressing your hips forward. Back foot can be untucked or tucked, whichever you prefer. Getting your hips as close to the space between your hands as possible. Trying to keep your chest somewhat lifted. All right, from here moving into a reclined quad stretch. So, stick your right leg out in front of you, or your left leg out in front of you. Swing your right leg behind you. Tuck 3, maybe 4 of the toes, and then lean back onto your left forearm. So this is stretching the entire top of the right thigh. You want to relax your hips as close to the ground as you can. Press your knee to the ground and relax your back toward the ground, relax your hips toward the ground. If this is way too much, just sit up like this and work on relaxing your hips toward the ground. You don't need to go all the way back. So start here, work to the forearms, one forearm, then the other forearm, and then all the way under your back, but only if there's no pinching in your back. You've got 1 more breath here. And then release this. We're gonna switch sides, so now swing your left leg behind you, tuck the toes, release back onto your right forearm, maybe just hands on either sides of the hips, and here relaxing your left hip toward the ground. So if you've got a friend with you, something that can be really beneficial is thinking about extending as long as you can the area from, making as long as you possibly can the area from your knee to your ribs. So making this as long as you can so you can get a nice deep stretch in the hip flexor, in addition to your knee extenders, your quads. Releasing your hip toward the ground, relaxing onto your forearms. And if you're feeling a stretch in your ankles here, that's fine. We also want to work into the range of motion in our ankles. It's a good thing to have to prevent ankle sprains, to keep your ankles strong. All right, coming up from here, we're going to go into a wide-legged V-sit. So, legs as wide as you can make them. Let's sit back here like this so you can see. Maybe crank your legs out a little bit more than you think you can. And then hands on either side of your hips. Lift your hips off the ground and lean forward. And then press your chest forward and up. So you want to work in maintaining your back flatness here as much as you can. And you're going to feel the stretch in your lower back and the insides of your thighs. You can also grab onto something in front of you if you'd like. Grab onto the grass, grab onto your mat, pull your chest up and forward, relax the shoulders. I think I'm sitting on some ants here. I'm gonna tough it out, I'll be all right. And then pull your chest up and forward to work on the lower back. If you just wanna feel this in the inner hamstrings, that's fine. Just relax your chest toward the ground. And you can stay in this for longer than we're gonna do in this video. If you want to, you can stay in this pose for 3 to 5 minutes. Just work on inhaling up and exhaling down. And you'll get deeper and deeper into this pose. So if you want to feel really nice tomorrow, really nice stretch through your inner thighs, stay in this pose for a little bit longer. This is great to do. This is that 3 to 5 minute stretch is something really good to do if you want to feel really fresh the next day. Maybe you've got a big lifting session coming up, or you've got a game or something coming up. Holding the pose for longer, relaxing into it is going to be very beneficial for your body. All right, we're gonna move out of this and from here into fire log pose. So fire log is really awesome for your hips. So for this, similar to just crossing your legs, let's start with the left leg crossing over your right knee. And you want your thighs relatively far apart. So it's not quite a lotus pose. Your foot is on top of the knee, leaning forward, relaxing this top knee toward the ground. Don't push it, just let gravity and let this leg relax toward the ground, okay? So spending a couple breaths here and feeling the stretch, inner hips. And then when you're ready, you can walk your arms forward. And similar to the seated V stretch that we just did, relax your upper body toward the ground for a really nice stretch in your hips. We're gonna hang out here for about 4 breaths. And as you're doing these poses that work into your flexibility, you want to work on breathing slowly and controlled in and out of the nose. So if you feel like you're panting in and out of your mouth, try to come back to breathing in and out of your nose. It's called pranayama breathing. It's also just called breathing with control. We got 2 more breaths here. And you can kind of see that as I inhale, my body lifts, and as I exhale, my body falls forward. So you can use that yourself. Bring it back up. We've got a go-kart coming up. It's gonna get a little noisy for a second. And then we're gonna switch sides. So, right leg on top of your left knee, or right foot on top of your left knee. Relaxing your right knee toward your left ankle, sitting up tall at first. Taking a couple breaths to let your knees relax toward the ground. And again, you want to be careful not to push your knee down here. And if you have knee issues, strongly recommend extending the toes in your left foot, reaching your toes back toward your shin so that you can protect your knee here, keep the muscles engaged so it doesn't get, so you don't have an MCL injury there. And then from here, relaxing your chest toward the ground. Remember, inhale up, exhale forward. We're gonna do 3 more breaths here. I'm breathing a little bit longer than you just saw me do. This is a good opportunity to try and breathe as long as you possibly can. So maybe holding it for 5 seconds at first, and then working your way up to a 6-second inhale, a 6-second exhale, and then maybe even up to a 10 or 15-second inhale and exhale. Not minute. That'd be impressive though. Let's go one more breath here. And then bring it back. All right. And then from here we're gonna move into Pigeon, which is a huge necessity for your external hip rotators, your glutes. So level 1 of Pigeon is a reclined figure 4. You're gonna lay down onto your back, cross your right ankle over your left knee, lightly push your right knee forward, grab the back of your left thigh, pull your left thigh in while pressing your right knee forward. If this is really tight, just stay here. Lightly press the right knee forward, keep the toes flexed. If you need a little bit more, we're gonna move into the full Pigeon. So for Pigeon, start with your right knee outside your right hip and your ankle in toward your groin. Swing your left leg back. Try to get the entire the entire top side of your left leg to face the ground, and then work your chest toward the ground, pressing your left hip toward the ground, easing onto your forearms, and relaxing into this. If you feel pinching in your knee, bring your heel in a little bit closer to your butt, and try to get your thigh on the ground. If you can get your right thigh on the ground here, it's going to reduce the pressure in your knee and shift the focus to your lower back and your glutes. Think about pressing your butt down and to the right in this position with your right leg forward. And the more you walk your arms forward and release your back toward the ground, the deeper the stretch is going to be. Got one more breath here. And we'll move out of this and switch sides. So just roll over to the right to come out of it. And now left leg forward, knee outside the hip, and then ankle in toward the groin. Swing your right leg back. Get the entire top side of your right leg to face the ground. Pull your right hip forward, pull your left hip back, and then relax your hips toward the ground. You can also scissor your legs together, so squeeze your right hip toward your left hip, right knee toward your left knee, and vice versa. And then when you're ready, big breath in, exhale, walk your arms forward, release onto your forearms, push your butt down and to the left. And that's going to help you target your left glute and your lower back. And again, the more you walk your arms forward, the closer you get your chest to the ground, as you see me doing here, the deeper the stretch is going to be. If you feel pain in your knee, go back to that figure 4, that reclined figure 4 position that we did before. Again, that is crossing your left ankle over your right thigh, and then grabbing the back of your right thigh, pressing your left knee forward, and you can relax onto your neck, onto your back here. Got 2 more breaths, whatever position you're in. Try to relax the left leg. If your left leg is tense in this position, you're not getting the maximum benefit. That's why it helps to relax onto your back. All right, go ahead and release. And then the last pose we're going to do is called frog pose. For those of you that have done frog pose before, you'll know that it's a very intense stretch for your hips. For those of you who haven't done it, you'll soon learn. So for frog pose, I want you to start with your knees a little bit wider than shoulder width distant, and your inner ankles directly behind your knees. From here, if this feels tight already, stay here. If you want to go deeper, bring your knees further away from one another. Make sure your ankles stay behind your knees. Ease onto your forearms, and then lightly press your hips back. Relax your hips, let your knees slide out a little bit, and breathe. Enjoy the sound of the plane overhead. Austin Airport is near. So in this position, you want to keep your belly button lifted. Don't let it sink down. And you want to relax your knees out toward the sides. So make sure that you're not holding on to your knees, preventing them from sliding out. This is going to feel very uncomfortable in your hips. We want to push your range of comfort. We want to push that level. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's how you make gains. That's how you get more flexible. You can push your butt back a little bit more to go deeper, or you can try edging your knees out a little bit further away from one another. And this pose is typically held for a long time. So we've got about 3 more breaths here. Frog pose is typically held for a minimum of 60 seconds. You can hold it for up to 3 minutes. A really good saying in yoga is that the pose doesn't start until it gets difficult, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but once you start to get uncomfortable, once you start to feel like you can't hold it, that's when the pose starts. You've got 1 more breath here. See if you can go a little bit deeper. Press your hips back. And then to get out of this, plant your hands, put your weight into your hands, bring your ankles toward one another, and then bring your knees in toward one another. I hope that that wind didn't disturb too much of the last speech. That is the downfall of being outdoors, but it's better than being inside. So, there are your 7 exercises for hip mobility. This is something that I do almost every night to keep the mobility in my hips, which also helps reduce the tightness and the discomfort in my lower back. So, 90-day programs. If you want to study with me via webcam for a 3-month period, look up that manfulyoga.com/webcam.training. I also have remote training options available for personal training via webcam. And then make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, like on Facebook, join my email list. I've got a couple really awesome, very valuable freebies that I give out to everyone who joins my email list. So, I'm gonna take my dog inside now because he's probably hot and sick of waiting for me under the tree. But thank you for watching, and I will see you guys on the next video. Take care.